Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm taking a look at Doctor Who and Meglos, which is a 4th Doctor episode, which is in season 18, I think. Apparently, that's what it says in the writer's notes, so I'm hoping they're correct. You've got the BBC logo there, the new one, as this is more of a new release apparently. Doctor Who there, Meglos, the pirate-y evil guy, that woman, I can't remember her name even, the Tom Baker years, 1974 to 1981, apparently, Tom Baker's grinning face there, same sort of information on the spine really. On the back you've got more interesting information about all the special features, the bio, Meglos, again, Doctor Who, and the sort of reel of screenshots and whatnot, and that. And then you've got the writer's note and the disc. It's nice. So what did I think of this episode? I thought it was alright. I think it's very odd because it even says in the writer's notes that Romana takes more of a sort of the sort of lead of the Doctor and that, and kind of comes across more like the Doctor in the sense that she's the one who's having to do the running around, so to speak, and distracting these sort of piratey, savage type characters, and that, which I was fine with. It was just because she doesn't have as much comedic ness about her character. It just got a bit boring and stale, that bit. And then Tom Baker, you can really tell he's very much sort of down and just meh, really. He's just very meh. He's like the Doctor, but he's very much just stale and not really as enthusiastic about the character, clearly. And it's just sort of going through the motions. I say that, but when he's Meglos, he is sensational for the parts, or for the bits that he is Meglos, and that when he's really needing to be the sort of megalomaniac and freak about this dodecahedron type thing. There is quite a bit of a subtext sort of bit kind of thing about the idea of science versus religion. I would have much preferred it if that was more prominent in the story. It seems to very much get sort of pushed to the side very much. You can very much tell this is a sort of John Nathan Turner sort of era story, as the music is very prominent and very loud and in your face, but it's not even that, but it's the sort of not overuse, but a lot of use of CSO, which is sort of the CG of the classic series, and as a side effect of that, obviously this episode doesn't date very well, as there's literally a bit where I think it's Meglos is on this desert planet, and literally like bits of the Doctor is sort of like missing and stuff from a far away sort of camera and that, because of the CSO being that bad. And then you go from that to more practical effects of plants, which I prefer. I'm more of an advocate of practical effects over CG and CSO and that, which is ironic considering I've grown up with the new series, so you would instinctively think as an onlooker that I'd much prefer CG over practical effects, but I prefer, as I say, practical effects, as they don't date as bad. Well, it depends on how well you do it. You can tell that a lot of the costume design money, went into going into Meglos, which is superb, but it very much feels like for every good thing, there is always a bad thing of either equal or more, or more greater strength. For example, as I say, Meglos looks amazing, but then these pirates look pretty abysmal and poor. Like literally, like if you look at his hat, it looks like he's got this crown-like thing. It looks like he's got some stupid tinfoil on his head and that. I did quite like the characterization of both those sort of savagey, character-y people, like him and his mate. As I say, the design of Meglos was really good, but as maybe a side effect of the cost, maybe that's why they didn't use it as much. The Cactus Doctor, as I like to refer to him as, which is a shame because I thought he was going to be in it a lot more. Spoiler alert, she gets killed as well. And as I say, I think the whole sort of idea of religion versus science was an interesting, or science versus religion, depending on your personal preference, I think was a good concept, but it was pushed to the side, as I've already said. This episode feels very much like, as I say, like a precursor to an episode such as maybe The Visitation, or even maybe Cash Revolver, or just a Peter Davison story where there are a lot more companions, because it feels very run-aroundy, where nothing's really happening massively, but because there's only really the Doctor and Romana, it just feels very sort of odd, you know, that there's only two main characters. This villain who's Meglos, who, I don't know, I thought Tom Baker's performance was really good as Meglos, but I just didn't feel like he was that much of a threat, really, which was a bit odd, considering he did a lot of the things that he was meant to do in this story, and considering a lot of people bitch and moan at the fact that Stephen Moffat's episodes are very confusing and higgledy-piggledy and a bit all over the place, or as he likes to refer to them as timey-wimey or whatever, which is so fucking childish. Considering that, I think this story is very much akin to that, is very much a precursor to the whole timey-wimey aspect. It's not timey-wimey, so to speak, but it is confusing at times. Granted, the time schism of sorts early on in the episode isn't, I wouldn't say, as obvious as, say, in City of Death, but I would definitely still say, because I've watched an adequate amount of Classic Who, I knew that was coming. If this was, say, your first introduction to Classic Who, you would have no idea what was going on, and I would not recommend this if you were thinking of this to watch as a person who's never watched classic Doctor Who. So yeah, what would I give this out of 10? I would give Meglos a 6 out of 10. It's good, and it's alright, and it's nice to watch, and it's just a basic little 4-part story, and it doesn't go out of its way to offend anyone, but neither does it go out of its way to be amazing, sensational, or a game changer for that matter. And unfortunately, you can very much tell that Tom Baker is very much at rope's end with the character of the Doctor, and I think that's why, as well, in the context of this episode, he may have obviously put in a lot more time and energy into playing the part of Meglos, because obviously he's doing something different. He's being able to play a villain rather than just the hero all of the time. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. Thanks for watching. Comment, rate, and subscribe.